Hello, welcome to the Manasplained podcast. I'm Connor, and today I'll be talking about the deck I built for these four idiots. So, originally, I was going to make a Gosta Dirk deck, because I'm going through every commander, and when I got to him, his ability doesn't really do anything, because, like, 4/4 with first strike for 7 mana. Sure, I'm coping at this point, but that's as good as it's going to get in the Legend set for stat line versus actual cost of the card. Like, and first strike is nice, but creatures with Island Walk may be blocked as if they did not have this ability. So I don't know how much Island Walk you run out to in the wild, but for me it's not that much. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, great. What am I supposed to do? And then I saw he was a warrior. I'm like, okay, maybe I can do something with that. And then I looked at some warrior tribal stuff, and I looked at what warriors came in Azorius, and then I realized all 4 of these guys from the Legends set are all warriors, and they all basically do nothing. So I was like, great, I'll make a warrior tribal deck, include all 4 of these numbskulls, and then if you want to play the deck, you can just pick which one you want to run as a commander, because functionally there's no difference. So that's the deck I built, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I love talking with you guys down in the comments, and liking and subscribing helps grow the channel. Don't forget to share with your friends, and let's jump into this deck list. So the theme for this deck is, like I said, it's warrior tribal, and I managed to find 30 cards that are warriors that like I would want to put in the deck. I was very surprised how high I got that number to be, considering like when you look at warriors, you often see red, green, white, but you don't often see blue. And thankfully, the new Warhammer 40k sets that came out added some blue warriors, so that also helped with this deck list. The sub-theme, I'll get into that in a bit, is 14 cards, and it really helps with the package that I decided to go with. 4 synergy cards, those are kind of just like anthem-y effects. There's not a lot of them, because I wanted to mainly focus on just a bunch of warriors, and then 3 protection spells. The protection spells are like more go-wide protection spells, and I'm not running like Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots or something like that, because like you don't need to protect your commander, because once again, it's a warrior tribal deck where the commander doesn't do anything for that, but like all 4 of them don't do anything, so it's perfectly fine. And for the rest of the deck breakdown, 9 draw, since this deck has blue, that's really helpful. 10 ramp, 9 removal, because this deck has white, that's very helpful. 0 board wipes, because I didn't really feel like this deck needed them. It's a go wide strategy, you're just going to be attacking with your creatures a lot, and I didn't really feel like you needed board wipes for a deck like this. Even like artifact or enchantment board wipes, I just feel like you just going face over and over is going to be the key part of the deck, and wipes wouldn't really help with that strategy. And plus you have pieces of removal that can help get rid of like important pieces for your opponents, so that a board wipe probably wouldn't be necessary. And then 36 lands, because you don't want to be flooded, but you still want to hit your land drop so you can cast all your warriors and keep going face. So this deck has 12 crossover cards. Finally, a deck with over 10 crossover cards. Like I've said before, crossover cards are really important to me, because when you're making a deck, it means multiple cards will fill multiple roles. So like if a card is a warrior and also draws a card, that's awesome, because it removes the like having to cut down cards from each category to reach the deck building restriction of 100 cards, and also makes all of your draws more valuable. So yeah, 12 crossover cards is awesome. So like I said, I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of the warriors for this deck, because blue doesn't have a lot, so the deck is mostly white warriors with a couple blue warriors sprinkled in. And like I said, the Warhammer 40k set helped a lot by adding some white and blue warriors to this deck. So to start the category off, these are the warriors that buff the team. Ultramarines Honor Guard, probably the strongest of all of them here, because if you wait till late game to cast them, say you cast them for 8, activating a squad ability twice, you will then buff the whole team +3/+3, and then each of the Ultramarine Honor Guards +2/+2. He is such a good card late game, and you don't want to cast him early. You really want to cast him with squad activated 2 or 3 times to really buff up the team so you can swing hard. And then the rest of the category, Jazal and Battleshield give temporary buffs just till the end of turn, and then Herald Ramoka giving the entire team Vigilance is amazing. All these cards really help your team get really big so you can swing hard and deal a bunch of damage. These are the warriors in the deck that give 1/1 counters either to themselves or others. So Solemn and Paired, they just give 1/1 counters to themselves, but Boone and Dragonscale can give counters to other things. So Boon has backup, which when it enters, it gives a 1/1 counter to a target creature, and if it's a different creature, the creature gets the rest of the tech box until the end of turn. So for one turn, Boonbringer Valkyrie can give a different creature flying, first strike, and lifelink, and a 1/1 counter. Like, that's very cool. The backup mechanic is very interesting, and I have never really used it because oftentimes it's just giving like trample or like keyword soup like that to a creature, and in Commander that sometimes isn't impactful enough, just getting that only once. But I feel like in a Flicker deck, you could definitely do some backup shenanigans. And then Dragon Scale General is super interesting because at the beginning of your end step, you bolster X, and X is the number of tapped creatures you control. So it kind of does non-bow with giving everybody vigilance, but as long as you don't have both those cards out at the same time, it's fine. But bolstering X is putting a bunch of 1/1 counters on the creature with the least toughness among creatures you control. So say you had 3 tapped creatures, you just chuck 3 1/1 counters on the creature with the lowest toughness. And this really helps like bring your army up to snuff to help really deal damage. So yeah, I think all of these cards are absolutely awesome. And then these cards give abilities to one creature at a time. Ballroom and Irration only activate when they attack, or for Irration when it enters. And then they give just keywords to your creatures. But Avenging Hunt Bonder is the most interesting one, because whenever it attacks, you put a double strike counter on another target attacking creature. So you can put double strike counter on like any of your creatures, and because it's a counter, it stays there. It's not a temporary benefit like Irration or Ballroom. So you can over time give multiple of your creatures double strike and give it to the big ones, and then you're able to hit that much harder. And so yeah, Avenging Hunt Bonder is amazing in this deck. And then my favorite part of the theme category, all of these cards here give you warrior tokens while also being a warrior in and themselves. I showed the squad mechanic on the Anthem guy earlier, but these ones just do the token stuff, and I think that's really awesome, especially Zephyrim having Miracle, reducing the cost by 2, so you could squad one additional time over what you'd normally be able to do is awesome. Love Zephyrim, it's such a cool card. And then Blaring Recruiter, you just pay 3 mana, get a 1/1 warrior creature token onto the field. Like, you don't have to tap it or have some condition like Boast or Raid or Squad. It's just you pay 3 mana, you get a creature token. And you can do this over and over and over and over. So yeah, Blaring Recruiter, probably one of the stronger cards in the deck because you can always have a use for your mana if you have this card out, which is awesome. These are the warriors that have removal. So Space Marine Devastator, another squad creature. Again, squad's awesome. But when he enters the battlefield, you destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So for 4 mana, you destroy 1 artifact or enchantment. 6, you destroy 2. 8, you destroy 3. So this can really help remove stuff while also giving you bodies to fill the board with. And then Mardu Reaper's interesting because when he or another warrior enters, you get to exile target creature card from a graveyard. It doesn't have to be yours. So you can help if someone's running a deck that cares about their graveyard at all, you can hopefully hose some important creatures they might care about from the graveyard with that. So yeah. And also at being 1 mana at a 2/1, Mardu War Reaper, I really like this card. These are the warriors that will draw you cards. So whenever they deal combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. And holy crap, again, squad. If you pay 8 mana again, get 3 of these guys out every turn. Since they also have flying, they're hard to block. You could easily get at least 2 of them in and draw cards with them. Like these, yeah, drawing cards off combat damage with these creatures is so good. And then these are all the unblockable warriors. For Talos Warrior, it is a pirate, but it is technically a warrior. And then, yeah, other than that, all these cards just can't be blocked. There's only 2 Merfolk in the deck, so River Sneak's ability is probably not going to proc ever, unless you happen to have them both and you can play River Sneak first. But yeah, this is just so that you can make sure you get that combat damage in, and if you're doing the Anthem-y buff stuff, then these creatures will be bigger, deal more damage, and you're off to the races. The final warriors that for this category are Shepherd, Valix, Praetor, CK Colossus. These cards just didn't really fit into any of the other of the categories. They're kind of, yeah, just the odd ones out. CK Colossus is interesting because, like, you're not going to be doing any party stuff. There's no other, like, clerics, rogues, or wizards in the deck, to my knowledge. I can't remember. Maybe it might have a rogue in, but I don't think so. And so because of that, it's only going to cost 1 less, but 6 mana for a 7/5 is still, like, on a colorless creature, that's still a pretty good rate. Velix Praetor giving your commander protection from everything. Like, your commander doesn't matter, but, like, it's flash vigilance, and, like, say someone goes to remove your commander for some reason, maybe you're able to get lethal with commander damage because of, like, you've been attacking a bunch and you've been able to buff it. You could flash this in to protect that. But yeah, like, only reason I have it in is because it's an interesting warrior card, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then Shepherd of the Cosmos is awesome because it's just like it's quite a bit worse than Sun Titan, because it's only when it enters the battlefield, it's not when it attacks. I really wish it was on attack too, that'd be so awesome. But it's only on enter the battlefield. But it is a permanent card with CMC 2 or less, which means you can still hit lands with it, like Sun Titan. So yeah, that card's also in here because it's flying 3/3, you can foretell it to make it cheaper, and you can still bring back lands from the graveyard. So as you saw, my favorite part of the theme category was the token makers. I am a big fan of tokens and tribal. They're my two favorite themes to build decks around. So the sub theme of this deck is making more tokens so that you can have tons of warriors and go face and just have a ton of fun with the deck. So the two strongest cards of this category are Reflections of Lachar and Oketra's Monument. They both trigger on cast, so even if your warrior gets countered, it doesn't matter. And you get to, for Reflections, you get to copy it, and for Oketra's, you just get to make a 1/1. But Oketra's also reduces the cost of the white creature spells you cast, and since, like, I only have a couple blue creatures, and most of the creatures in this deck are white, Oketra's Monument will, more often than not, be a mana reduction. But yeah, the fact that every time you cast a creature for Oketra and then a warrior for Reflections, like, you get to make more tokens of them, is awesome. You're going to trigger this a bunch, and yeah, it's going to be like just making tons of warriors to help flood the board. It's crazy. I've played Reflections in other tribal decks, and it just goes off so hard. It's kind of wild. So Inquisitorial Rosette is really interesting because it's equipment, cost 2, equip 3, and then whenever the equipped creature attacks, you make a 2/2 warrior with vigilance that's attacking. So that's already awesome. But then it gives menace to your whole team, which is even awesomer because then, like, your opponent can only block half as efficiently, which will help you get creatures through, which will help you deal damage, which will help you win the game. So yeah, Inquisitorial Rosette is really awesome, and being at 2 mana, if someone removes it because it's giving you so much value, you might be able to bring it back with the Angel Warrior from earlier that ETBs and brings back something CMC 2 or less. It's a permanent, so yeah, Inquisitorial Rosette is awesome. And then Thunderhawk Gunship, when it enters, it just makes 2 tokens, so unfortunately you don't get to, like, it doesn't make them whenever it attacks, but when it attacks, it gives your creatures flying. So these cards are awesome. They're so cool. The Warhammer cards are really neat. I'm a big fan of them. And yeah, these cards here just work so well in this deck. And also, for Thunderhawk Gunship, it crews itself with only one of the 2 tokens. Like, its crew cost is so cheap. It's so awesome. These are the X-cost token makers in the deck. Secure the Wastes is just an awesome card that just makes a bunch of warriors. It's just a really awesome card, and especially at instant speed, so you can do it on the end step before your turn, and that's like almost like giving them haste. You could do it during an opponent's turn to get some blocks down. Yeah, Secure the Waste is an awesome card. And then Defenders of Humanity is really interesting because it makes a bunch of warrior tokens with vigilance that are 2/2s, which is fantastic. And then later on, say someone plays a board wipe and all your creatures are gone, you can then get the same casting cost, X2 and a white, to get a bunch of more warriors to help refill your board. And you can only activate it if you have no creatures and only during your turn. But still, like, this helps refill the board after a board wipe or something like that. So yeah, Defenders of Humanity is just a really cool card. These are the squad cards all together at last. But yeah, I think squad's a really awesome mechanic. I don't know if they're gonna use it in any other set or if it was like an all Warhammer 40k exclusive mechanic, but I'd really like to see it in more sets because I really think it's just an awesome mechanic, and I'd love to see it maybe on like a legendary creature, like that gets like the ETB benefit of that, and then if you can like have other cards out that negate the legend rule and stuff, I think that'd be cool. Maybe a commander that gives all of your creatures squad like X, where X is half their CMC rounded up or something like that. I'd love to see squad come back in a different way. That was really cool, kind of like when they came out with the commander that gave all your cards ninjutsu. And then these are the warriors that make more warrior tokens. You saw them all earlier. Just, yeah, again, these cards are great. Love tokens, and the fact that these are warriors in themselves is awesome. So because we're going wide with a bunch of warriors and we're trying to win with combat damage, I decided the synergy category would be some anthem effects to help pump the team. So the anthem effects I chose were Ultramarine's Honor Guard. I've showed him 3 times now. This card's awesome. Radiant Destiny, giving +1/+1 and Vigilance, which is great. Herald of Dromoka, again, giving Vigilance to help be able to attack with the team and then hold them back on defense. And then Vanquisher's Banner, which whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you draw a card in addition to the +1/+1. So Vanquisher's Banner being a draw engine as well as an anthem effect is fantastic. Yeah, all these cards are great. So for the protection category, I didn't go with the typical like Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and stuff like that. Because we're making a bunch of tokens, I decided a more go wide kind of protection strategy. So Flawless Mover on Unbreakable Formation, they're both instants for 3 mana, but Flawless you can cast for free if you have your commander out, and it just gives your entire board indestructible. Unbreakable Formation is interesting because if you cast it during your main phase, you give your entire team +1/+1 counters. So Unbreakable Formation is like designed to be like a defensive oh no kind of like board wipe response spell, while also you can use like a combat trick to buff your whole team by giving them counters and vigilance in addition to the indestructible. And then yeah, Vexilus Praetor, just giving your commander protection from everything, is also really good. And I didn't mention this earlier, but protection from everything means your commander can like get through, like can attack indiscriminately because it can't be blocked and stuff like that. And then if your commander also has vigilance, it can block indiscriminately because it can't take damage. So yeah, Vexilus Praetor makes your commander like the ultimate attacking warrior in this deck, which is awesome. So because of we're going wide, I decided to make the draw kind of help with that go wide strategy and also care about the fact that we're doing a tribal deck. So these are all the cards that care about dealing combat damage. So Reconnaissance Mission, Batting the Thassa, Coastal Piracy, and then a new card, the Indomitable. These are all just 4 mana. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. They're all like amazing. Indomitable has recursion, but you need to have like pirates and other or other vehicles to be able to get it back. And I'm running like one other vehicle and maybe a pirate, so I don't think there's any way you'll be able to get the Indomitable back. But again, all these effects are really awesome. Biding of Thassa is interesting because you can pay 2 and tap it and then force your opponents to attack on their turn. So this can help you get their defenses down so you can have easier time swinging in to draw cards. And then Kindred Discovery is probably the most interesting here because whenever a creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to draw a card. So it kind of double dips into your warrior creatures entering the battlefield. So yeah, all these cards are absolutely amazing and they'll draw you so many cards. And then these are the rest of the draw category. Vanquisher's Banner showed earlier. Again, it's crazy. The 2 warriors that draw cards, again, they're really nice. And then Squad just being an awesome mechanic. And then Distant Melody, just 4 mana, draw a card for each permanent you control of the creature type. So Distant Melody is interesting. This deck doesn't have any tribal like enchantments like from that they did back in Lorwyn. Like it doesn't run any of those, but Distant Melody, say like you had a tribal enchantment or a tribal artifact or something like that, it would still draw for that because it's permanent you control of that type, which I think is a very interesting way to word it, and kind of cool that it takes into account those tribal cards. And because we don't have green, the ramp is just artifacts. Of course you always have Wayfarer's Bauble because it helps you find a basic land, but yeah, just I wish we had green because like green is my favorite color to like play for like 2-color and 3-color decks, just because I like doing like the idea of what white or red or blue or black's trying to do, and then you get the consistency and ramp and all that of green. So yeah, unfortunately we don't have green here, so we make do with a bunch of artifacts. These are all the artifacts that make colored mana. Arcane and Azorius make both of the colors of the deck, while Marble and Sky Diamond only make 1 of each. I find the power level like in between cards hilarious. Like Arcane Signet, that came out in like the first Brawl decks they printed, I think, and they even said back then that like Arcane Signet was a mistake. Like the card is like very pushed, it's so strong, because when you look at something like Azorius Signet or Marble and Sky Diamond, you really see the discrepancy in power level between all these cards, and I find it very funny. And then these are all the colorless mana producers. My favorite being probably Everflowing Chalice, because it produces, like, it's scalable. For each time you kick it, it gets an additional charge counter, so it can tap for more mana. I really like Everflowing Chalice, and I put it in every deck that doesn't have green. And if I'm doing proliferation stuff, I'll put it in the deck even if it has green, because this card can get out of hand. And then Prismatic Lens, another great artifact ramp spell that I really like, because yes, it does tap for a colorless, but if you really need to, you can filter it for, you can filter mana through it to get you the colors you need. So yeah, again, Everflowing Chalice, Prismatic Lens, love those cards. And then the last two in the category are Wayfarer's Bauble and Oketra's Monument. Oketra's Monument making tokens, warrior tokens, is like just so amazing. And then Wayfarer's Bauble, outside of like the absolute monsters that are cards like Soul Ring and Arcane Signet and like the objectively super broken cards, I think Wayfarer's Bauble is probably the best colorless ramp card in like casual. It doesn't really work. It doesn't outclass cards like Mana Vault or Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet. Like, it doesn't come near to those cards. But for, I think, every casual deck that doesn't have green should be running this card, because, again, it's just so good. And, like, 3 mana that you can share across 2 turns for a rampant growth for any deck, I think it's just, yeah, it's just a great effect. Also, that new art is phenomenal. So the removal is pretty bog standard Azorius removal I do for decks. I don't run counter spells, because maybe I just need to get over the whole counter spells that I have. But like, if I'm not running a deck that is designed to be like a spell slingery type deck, I'm not going to put counter spells in. Even then, it's going to be pretty limited. So the removal is all like for getting rid of permanents. These are probably the 3 most interesting in the deck. Dismantling Wave being one of my personal favorites, being able to 3 for 1 your opponents. You get to get rid of 3 things for 1 card for 3 mana. It's kind of insane, and they don't get anything back. Like, they don't get like 3/3s in like to pay off the fact that you're getting to destroy 3 things. Dismantling Wave is kind of an insane card, honestly. And then Space Marine Devastator and getting to blow up multiple things, just like Heliod's Intervention, also getting to blow up multiple things from like 1 person, helps you, like, say someone has like a Sensei's Divining Top and a Bolas' Citadel and blah blah blah. You can be like, alright, getting rid of all of that, because that's not okay. So yeah, these cards are really cool, and I really like Space Marine Devastator. It's a very awesome card. These are the removal spells that leave like a 1/1 behind. Stroke of Midnight, probably one of the best white removal spells in Commander. 3 mana, gets rid of anything that isn't a land, and just leaves a 1/1 just regular token behind without any abilities. Like, this card is so pushed. It's just like way better Generous Gift. Like, it's kind of ridiculous how pushed that card is, honestly. And then Raven Form, kind of a dumb card. Giving blue the ability to like permanently exile artifacts and creatures with this card, like, I don't know what Wizards of the Coast was thinking, but this card is insane. And the fact that you can foretell it, so you can pay the 2 mana now and then 1 mana it later, it's good that it's a sorcery, because if this was an instant, that would be stupid. So yeah, both these cards are phenomenal. And then all of the 1 mana removal spells that I love to run in white and blue decks. Swords and Path are just some of the most efficient removal in all of Magic. Exiling a creature is just so great, gets around indestructible, and can really help deal with significant problems. Since this deck is making so many tokens, you could even Path to Exile one of your little 1/1 warrior creature tokens and then get a land, like, for 1 mana. That's super great value. Oh, and then Pongify and Rapid Hybridization, destroying a creature and giving it 3/3. The 3/3 could be relevant if you didn't have an Anthem effect out and you only had like the 2/2 Vigilance creature tokens. You wouldn't be able to attack into them because they could easily block. But at the same time, giving them a 3/3, it's probably less bad than the thing you destroyed with those cards. So, like I said, not running board wipes because I don't think you need it, based on how the removal is going to work and how the deck is such a go wide and hit face strategy. So let's move on to the lands. Now for the lands, there isn't any like super special or spicy lands in the deck, but one of the lands I run in all of my multicolor decks is super good in this deck, and I'll show you that now. So the land that I run in all my decks, it's phenomenal here, is Path of Ancestry. I love it because it's just a land that enters tap that gives you mana of any color, but whenever you cast a creature spell that shares the type of your commander, you get to scry one. So, like, that's normally just, like, it's fine for a normal deck. I even run it in monocolor decks, even if I only have, even, like, Commander's the only creature with that subtype, because the ability to scry one off your commander with it is just super nice, and, like, your commander's probably going to die at least once, so being able to get scry 1 or scry 2 off it is awesome. But in this deck, since you're doing Warrior Tribal, all of your creatures will get you to scry 1, and you're running 30 cards in the theme category. So yeah, Path of Ancestry is so awesome in a deck like this. And then I'm running the typical Azorius Chancery to bounce lands, running a ton of fetch lands with Evolving Wilds, a bunch of the Streets New Capenna stuff as well. And I'm going to say it in every video that I have at least a 2-color deck. Wizards, just please put the Battle Bond lands in all of the precons. They're designed for a multiplayer format, so please put the multiplayer format cards that everyone wants in the multiplayer format products. Please and thank you. Now, making cuts for this deck was really difficult because as I got down to the last 110 cards, it was really hard to choose what to keep and what to cut, and I honestly think I might have made some mistakes in what to keep and what to cut. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you have kept any of these cards? Would you have got rid of them? I'm really curious to hear what you know about the Maybe board. The card that hurts the most to cut is probably Obsidian Battle Axe. I probably should have left it in the deck because, like, it lets your warriors attack when, like, they enter if you're only casting 1 a turn. But I don't know, I couldn't find a spot for it. I don't know what card I'd want to take out to put this in. It'd be a removal spell or like a draw spell or a ramp spell. Like, I like all the other cards. Maybe I need to cut a couple warriors to be able to fit some of these other important cards in. But yeah, I don't know. It was a really hard decision. And then Solomon Burnished Heart. I really wanted my ramp to be low to the ground. That way, turn 3, turn 4, I'm playing warriors to help really get going and be able to start hitting hard and hitting home. And yeah, Solomon Burnish would kind of like eat into that. And then for Herald's Horn, it's cool, but I would rather a more impactful card than it. It has a chance to draw you a card, and with the theme being 30, like it draws you a third of a card every turn. So that's kind of cool, but I just would rather have something more impactful than that, and I have other ways that are more efficient to draw cards, definitely. Then Raise the Palisades, really interesting because it could return all my opponent's creatures back to their hand to let me hit even harder. But at the same time, like, I think I'd just rather get more warriors out that are bigger, tougher, and maybe just keep hitting hard than, like, get this one, bounce everything back. But maybe Raise the Palisades is like a win condition. I could bounce everything back to their hand and then be able to swing in for lethal. I don't know. Like I said, making these cuts was very difficult. And the last 5 cards of the Maybe board, they're all like pump spells or like anthem effects. So Rally and Shared Triumph are like care about your creature type, and they cost 2 mana, super efficient. Like I said, I couldn't find room for them, as in I wanted to get in a ton of warriors. And then Flowering of the White Tree is new from Lord of the Rings and is such a cool and awesome card. And then Rush of Battle and They Shall Know No Fear are both really awesome. And They Shall Know No Fear is a 2 mana version of the indestructible like protection, but it doesn't have the modalness of being free, like Flawless Maneuver, and then the other one giving you vigilance and a +1/+1 counter instead of just +1/+0. So yeah, I decided to cut that one over those because those are a little more impactful, because since they cost more mana, they do stronger things. But at the same time, it is a really strong card. And then Rush of Battle is just a warrior tribal kind of like pump spell for the team, but it's just it didn't seem like it'd be impactful enough. At that point, I'd rather have a Shared Triumph or a Rally the Ranks over a Rush of Battle. So yeah, let me know what you think. So yeah, that's the deck. It is a little cheaty. I am cutting like four birds with one stone here, because there's only 56 commanders in the Legends set, and I got 4 out in one fell swoop, but I just didn't feel like trying to build a deck for each of them would have been that interesting, so I thought this is more interesting to kind of like build the deck that all of them could pilot. I think Tiger Man probably would be the strongest, because I think he's the most power and toughness of them all, but top right there, the dude with all of the orbs falling behind him, the Dragon Ball guy, he has Rampage 1, so that could be more useful. I'd love to know what you think down in the comments down below. I'd love to chat with you about the deck. Do you like this? Do you think this was really bad and that I'm cheating and that I should go back and do one for everybody and stop trying to find a way out? Or what would you have changed about the deck? Is there cards in the maybe board that you think I definitely should have kept? I am still on the fence about Obsidian Battle Axe because that card is awesome. But yeah, I like the deck. I think the deck's really cool. It's definitely not what I thought it was going to be doing when I first looked at Gosta Dirk, but I still think it's a pretty cool deck. So these are all of my socials. Twitch is where I stream building all these decks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 12 to 4 Atlantic Standard Time. Twitter is when I post whenever I'm going live on Twitch and when these videos go up. So follow me on Twitter to not miss any of my streams or any of my YouTube videos. Still haven't been able to figure out what I'm going to do on TikTok for content. I was going to try to do something this week, but stuff got in the way. So hopefully next week I'll try to start making some TikTok content, maybe on the commanders, on the decks, not really sure. I might do YouTube shorts as well. I'm still kicking around ideas for that. And Reddit, like the few times I tried to do stuff on there, I didn't get much traction, but hey, I might start posting more on there once I kind of like get more of a following. Maybe people will want me to start posting on there. And then Architect and Moxfield are where all these deck lists are. So yeah, follow me on all my socials, and I'd love to chat with you on those as well. So as always, thanks for watching, and get building, splainers. Alright, that is so